What happens when engineers step outside the ordinary and truly listen to users? Welcome to our Design Thinking Bootcamp series, where collaboration and empathy transform great ideas into game-changing solutions. In each episode, you'll discover how an innovative mindset and iterative teamwork drive better products. Get ready to be inspired and reimagine what's possible together.
And we're, again, focusing on prototypes for this. And let me jump off of the quote. So Steve Krug, the author of Don't Make Me Think, says the best thing you can do to improve a product is a usability test. This is huge because, again, we're going to try to find flaws. We're going to have an interaction. We can actually have a discussion about the prototype or the product together. And again, in a collaborative environment, we can create alignment moving forward on the best pathway to improve this product. And so when we make our vision real with a prototype, we validate it with real people. And this is really where we fail fast, right? This is where we can get impact or get input, I'm sorry, from our customers. And how do we do that? I wonder. Again, that collaborative approach to elevating our ideas and making them better and getting a lot of responses in a very quick amount of time. Brian, do you want to add to that at all? Oh, your headphones are off. I'll tell you what, I'll go ahead and I caught you. Okay, I'll go ahead and move forward. So why do we validate with real users? Well, again, as we've talked about a lot, we have a lot of assumptions about our users. We think we know them, but unless we've interviewed them, again, we may be making assumptions. So we validate those ideas. And with I wonder, we can refine our prototypes, we can make them better. We can perform rapid experiments. We can try different variations that our team has been throwing at us with I wonder. And we can say, is that really improving the experience? Let's test it. Let's figure that out. We can learn more about our users. We can get our users to interact with our prototypes and actually take their comments down, get quotes that we can put in front of our bosses, our senior leaders, and say, this is what we're hearing directly from our customers about this experiment we performed. And who doesn't want to hear from their customers, right? So again, we're getting this data that we can use to sell the ideas. We test early with lo-fi prototypes, again, because they're cheap. We can draw them up very quickly. We can validate lots of ideas or test lots of ideas very quickly. Again, that fail fast, test, iterate, test again, so that we can get the best ideas that we need to get the most bang for our buck out of this work we're doing. Brian, would you like to add anything to that? Oh, actually, if you don't want to add anything, we have our next video, which is the validation video. Oh, cannot hear you. Okay, so I see your arm is up, and so therefore headphones are coming off. Cannot hear. So guys, we have a little bit of technical challenge here. If there's any, oh wait, new messages, let's see. So Brian's commenting.
Bill, do you hear me now?
Yes, we do.
All right, let me go ahead and share my screen. I need to go back just a smidge here. You see the obligatory, can you see my screen?
Yes.
All right, do you hear it?
No.
Ah, really?
Sorry, man.
It's me stop sharing. If you see it, like.
And again, guys, while Brian's doing this, if you guys have any questions that are popping up that you want us to answer at the end of the session, go ahead and put them in the chat. And that way we have a list of prepared questions that we can interact with. And just so you all know, I actually have a link for a survey that we'll be giving you at the end of the session. No, I cannot hear. No, you may want to put your arm down on your headphones. Oh, so again, if you guys have any follow-up questions for us, that'll be fantastic. Put them in the chat.
How about now, Bill?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, let me share my screen. Do you hear the video?
Not yet.
What's happening?
And guys, put in the chat if you can hear, but I can't. Please put that in the chat so that we know that it's not just me, which could be a possibility. Okay. So Shagun, thank you so much. Paula, thank you. Okay, so we can hear you, Brian, but nobody can hear the screen. And maybe this is something that actually, let me try from my end. Let me go ahead and find my browser. Oh, they're saying we lost Brian too. Let me go to stream. Uh, okay, now okay, stream is not letting me in. Okay.
Bill, do you hear me?
I can hear you. Yes.
Okay, I'll try again. I hate technology sometimes. You hear the video?
No,
All
but
right.
I just got it pulled up. Let me try on my screen.
Sabre
you
Design
find yours.
Strategy is a critical thinking
I
framework
hear
used
it.
to translate human
Okay.
needs into new products, services, and experiences.
Whoops, wrong screen.
The framework enables Sabre to create transformational products and services, accelerate time from concept to launch, and quickly validate ideas with customers. In this segment, we'll cover validating your concept with
Is it showing
stakeholders and
the
users.
PowerPoint?
I'm Jay
Yes,
Shu.
yes, I keep hitting the wrong share screen. Window should be validate. Okay.
There we go. That's good.
Okay, great.
Who I'm on the UX design
Go full
strategy
screen.
team at Sabre. You've made a decision on which idea or ideas to move forward with and have created prototypes. Now it's time to get feedback from people that were not involved in the design strategy process. This will allow you to quickly determine if your concept will meet their needs and deliver value to your end users. After you have completed the necessary exercises in the design strategy framework, you are ready to have your concept assessed and analyzed. Validating with stakeholders and users is an opportunity to get informed recommendations for corrective actions that will minimize risk and maximize effectiveness and/or revenue potential. There are a number of key benefits associated with validating your idea with stakeholders and users, including getting feedback on the value and feasibility of the concept. You also gain insights related to likely adoption, as well as perceived strengths and weaknesses of your concept. Here are a few simple steps for running a successful validation session. Step 1 is to prepare. Make sure you plan for at least 30 to 60 minutes for your validation session. Be sure to have the necessary materials, including Sharpies, Post-it notes, a whiteboard, Expo markers, and the feedback grid worksheet. Schedule a time and room where the stakeholders are available to meet to review the concept and prototype. Stakeholders and users are often busy. They may not all be able to attend one session, so it may be necessary to schedule multiple meetings. Be sure to give your participants plenty of lead time. This will help to improve the chances of them being able to attend the validation session. Step 2 is to do a quick review of the process. It is important for stakeholders and users, especially if they're unfamiliar with the design strategy framework, to understand that the storyboard and prototype was not just the byproduct of a simple brainstorming session. Step 3 is to present your ideas. The availability and location of the stakeholders will determine how you might present your concept and prototype. Having the stakeholders in a room allows you to walk through and show them the process you went through to develop the ideas and how you prioritized which ideas to move forward with. It is recommended that you prepare a presentation to show your concept and prototype. If some or all of your stakeholders are remote, you can set up a virtual remote session. It is also possible to create clickable prototypes that stakeholders or users can navigate using their phone or laptop. Step 4 is to walk through the prototype. After you have shown the stakeholders your process and concept, walk them through the prototype. Step 5 is to capture feedback. Introduce the I like, I wonder framework to your stakeholders before your session begins. You should use the feedback grid when you're observing people interact with your prototype. The feedback grid contains 4 quadrants: likes, criticisms, questions, and ideas. The I wonder statements may be criticisms, questions, or ideas. Listen carefully and take good notes. You can also dig deeper with follow-up questions that expand on feedback using why else, what else, and how else formatted questions. When you are finished, make sure to thank the stakeholders for their time. Then ask if they would be interested in any follow-up on the ideas you presented. Step 6 is to write a report. It is important to capture and document the artifacts you created, insights you discovered, and feedback you acquired during the design strategy sessions. Not only will this help you remember what you did later, but if you need to share the idea, having a report of the project will make it easy to do so. Step 7 is to revise and iterate based on feedback. Depending on the goals and objectives of your project, you may need to set up additional design strategy sessions to continue iterating on your concept before it goes into production. Validation is the final stage of the design strategy framework. Because this is a framework and not a process, you can revisit ideas you didn't move forward with or conduct new sessions that are built on the work, insights, and understandings you've gained.
Hey, Bill, are you able to hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
Okay, good. There's a question in the chat. What if there's no stakeholder / buyer? What do we do in that case? So really great question. What we would tend to do there is we would look at a prospect, right? So maybe we're going to be moving into this area. So a really good example of that right now is we're starting to do, and you might have heard of a project called Wolverine, right? Where we're reimagining, how to do retailing in the Sabre ecosystem. So what we're doing is we're looking at prospective customers that might be interested in moving into that space. So we don't necessarily have a client that's doing that, But in general, there's some interest in the marketplace to do this. So there are airlines that are curious, and we would want to partner with them to get their feedback and to explore, different what we would call a POC or a proof of concept, run some, rapid sketching, rapid validation, find the one metrics that matter to them, see if we're meeting their expectations. Ideally, what we'd want to do is we might want to have what we call a reference client, which is really, I think, what Akshat is saying here. If we are launching that new product or new service to achieve the interest in the market, you would want a reference client, right? And so a reference client, the nice thing about a reference client is they're going to tell everybody about how they're working with Sabre, how they're achieving their goals. The interesting thing is there's not that many airlines or travel agencies in the world. In many respects, while it's a very large industry, it's kind of a smaller community. And in some respects, like let's take that it's a revenue manager at an airline or revenue managers, you might have 8 to 10 per airline. And then you multiply that out by the number of airlines in the world, maybe you're talking about 400 people tops. Not a very big community yet. When you expand that out into offer and order, again, that's the executives and the B2B users. When you expand it out to the B2C clients, what are the offers in the order that they can extend out to their travelers or guests if it's a hotel? Well, that's going to be a very large piece of the pie. But again, you're looking to, partner early on with a prospect or someone that's interested to launch a new product or a service in the marketplace. So yeah, great question. So if it's an existing client, it's pretty easy. You're probably extending a new service and then trying to implement that. If it's something that's new, you're exploring, right? So it's the difference between, exploring versus executing. Yeah, these are really great interns. I'm going to have to, give Bharat a little pat on the back when I have my follow-up meeting with him. Great questions, everyone. Back to you, Bill.
Awesome. So one of the things that we want to focus on is really our users and not the buyers. In this example, we have Christina, a travel agent, versus Roberto, the IT buyer. It's very important to think about the difference between the person who buys the software versus the person who uses the software. And so their goals are different, their motivations are different, their pain points are different, even though they're in the same company working with ultimately the end user traveler is their customer. The people within the company have different motivations, and so therefore we really want to make sure that we're focusing on the main person that is going to be interacting with the software rather than the person who's buying the software. Brian, do you want to add anything to that?
Just know the nuance. That's probably the most important thing. From a user experience perspective, we're going to focus on the end user. The product team is going to focus in on the buyer. The tech team is going to focus in on the business logic, which is kind of the interaction between the two. Again, we're back to that three-legged stool. All right, back to you, Bill.
Awesome. Okay, so this may surprise you. How many users should we test with? I think a lot of times we think about, oh, well, we need hundreds of users to make sure that we are covering all of our bases. When in reality, surprisingly, from the Norman Nielsen group, they talk about how only 5 to 6 users uncover the vast majority of issues with interactions. And so the idea behind this is that really it should be universal, right? It should be universal that people who are interacting with our software are going to have the same issues. If we've found this right user, but as it says in the second bullet point, we may have multiple users, as such as agents and managers. The agent works directly with the customer, whereas the manager works directly with the agents. And so therefore, we would have two different user groups testing that particular software in this case, because we have two different sets of users. So again, you really need to understand who you're solving for. And when you have multiple user groups, you want to make sure that you are having interactions or tests with each of the different groups to make sure you've covered all of your bases with your software.
Bill, we have a question online that I think is really important.
Okay.
And it's on the wow part. How do we evaluate a solution is better than the competitors? And my answer is you can do what's called competitive analysis. And that's something that the user research and usability team can do, or you can do industry benchmarking. And again, that's something that the user research group can do. If you're looking at an industry landscape, the product team, the product strategy team led by Robbie Thomas can do more of an industry landscape analysis. Again, really great question on how many users should we test. This is kind of a thing that often gets missed. It's per user group. Again, it's the last bullet. So you could have agents, you could have managers, you could have analysts. So it really depends upon what we're looking at. Then here's a follow-up question. Are buyers not stakeholders? Yes, buyers are stakeholders. They absolutely are. And you do need to take that into consideration in the stakeholder map. A lot of times the end users, so in the example, go to the slide above, Bill.
You got it.
So in the example above, Roberto, the IT buyer, has certain needs. Christina has other needs. Christina, in this example, is probably going to influence Roberto's decision making. He just have other drivers. Roberto has other drivers. So for example, am I going to have to customize this solution? Is there training, ongoing support, maintenance? And there's usually a cost with all of those things. So again, in your stakeholder map, do we consider that? Absolutely. Do we run this idea in a design thinking session through a buyer? Yes, we absolutely do. We also would validate any screens in particular with the people that are going to be using the screens in a usability test. And again, we're not dismissing buyers. We're accounting for them. But when you're doing prototype validation, it's more important to listen to the end users. We're not dismissing the buyers. You just kind of need to listen to the end users. There was the earlier point from Bill. Users can better explain their pain points better than anyone because they're using the product every day. A buyer / executive is worrying about other things, and they kind of depend on an end user like Christina in this example. All right, Bill, I think we're going to go to the case study. So go down 2 slides.
Yes, it's going to go to you. Yes.
Yeah. So again, just to let you know, we're doing IROPS, we're doing loyalty, we're in a room. One side of the room is doing IROPS, the other is doing loyalty. And if you kind of can look at the different color stickies, you see how it says, I like, I wonder. What we did here to get feedback from the other carriers, and these are people that might be running the loyalty program at an airline or handling IROPS situations. They're not really the buyer. They're the end user running those programs. So we had them take a user objective, build out a couple of storyboards, vote on the storyboard where they wanted to do a screen design. And we had multiple tables going on. And at a certain point, after about an hour, we said, okay, show your screens to another person or another team to get feedback. And in roughly 2 hours, they were able to create the initial designs, create the storyboards, create the prototype, get some initial feedback from another carrier, update their paper prototypes very quickly. Then we did the readout that Jay had mentioned in his video, the training video. And we asked all of the carriers using different color-coded stickies, what did you like? What would you improve? The beautiful thing about that is we knew very specifically what each airline liked. We also knew what people wanted to improve with the design. And I would also say that, and I think this is a key concept here, the paper prototype is a starting point for all future discussions. It is not the end point, it's the starting point. When you move from paper prototype into an interactive prototype, and when you even move that into like a highly coded proof of concept, things are going to change. And you know what? That's okay. That's okay. Again, it's directional. So you can kind of see we have the different color-coded stickies. Let's go to the next screen, Bill.
You got it.
And so one of the things that we did after that is, I think this was Jay, Bill, and myself. We have to synthesize all this data. So we created a report. We shared it with the key leaders. The key leaders in this case were the internal leaders for the digital workspace. And then they continued to build out designs that kind of Sabre wanted to move forward with. And then we validated an interactive prototype with real end users. If you go to the next slide, 163, I'm not going to read this. I'll just tell you that this is Bianca Porter. She was super excited to participate in this particular session. And this is a tough customer. This is Virgin Australia. And in just a couple of days, she was really able to get a lot of work done. And this is pre-COVID. They flew over like half a world away to participate in this, and they loved it. So your customers love it, is what I would say. But also your internal stakeholders love it. You just had Wojciech come in saying, thank you for doing this. You guys are the future. And this is really going to help Sabre to move forward. And I think as you start to use some of these different tools and methods that you've learned over the last 2 sessions, you'll end up having reactions like that.
Let's pause here and give those design thinking concepts a moment to settle in. When you're ready, join us in the next module, where we'll pick up with the team and keep building your skills together. But before you move on, take a short quiz to check your understanding and finish this module strong. Every step you take helps shape your journey. See you in the next chapter.